According to the 2020 National Electrical Code, specifically Section 440.64 done, all 125 volts, single-phase, 15 and 20 amps receptacles installed outdoors must have ground fault circuit interrupter, abbreviated GFCI, protection for personnel. This requirement applies to receptacles installed on the exterior of buildings. This also includes receptacles located in generator enclosures. Therefore, a GFCI receptacle must be installed within the generator enclosure if the generator enclosure is located outdoors and the block heater is 120 volts with a 6-foot grounded plug attached to it. This provides protection against electrical shock hazards. A ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, is a safety device designed to protect individuals from electrical shock. It works by monitoring the current flowing in a circuit. It detects any imbalance between the outgoing and incoming current. Such an imbalance indicates that some current is leaking to ground. This leakage could be through a person who is touching a live conductor. If the GFCI detects such a ground fault, it quickly interrupts the circuit, cutting off the power and preventing a potentially fatal electrical shock. GFCI protection is particularly important in outdoor locations where there is an increased risk of electrical shock due to moisture and contact with the ground. Receptacles installed in outdoor generator enclosures are subject to these conditions, making GFCI protection essential. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, is a widely adopted standard for safe electrical installation and maintenance. It is updated every 3 years. These updates incorporate the latest safety practices and technological advancements. Compliance with the NEC is essential to ensure the safety of electrical systems and prevent electrical hazards. Section 440.64 done of the 2020 NEC specifically addresses the requirement for GFCI protection of 125 volts, single-phase, 15 and 20 amps receptacles installed outdoors. This requirement is intended to protect personnel from electrical shock hazards associated with the use of electrical equipment in outdoor locations. When installing a GFCI receptacle in the generator enclosure, it is important to follow all applicable electrical codes and safety practices. This includes using appropriate wiring methods, grounding techniques, and overcurrent protection. It is also important to ensure that the GFCI receptacle is properly installed and tested to verify that it is functioning correctly. Firstly, ensure the generator enclosure is properly grounded according to NEC requirements. This grounding helps provide a path for fault current to flow back to the source, allowing the GFCI to detect a ground fault and trip the circuit. Secondly, use the correct type of wiring and connectors that are suitable for outdoor use and the specific environmental conditions of the location. This includes using weatherproof or waterproof connectors and fittings to protect against moisture and corrosion. Thirdly, install the GFCI receptacle in a weatherproof enclosure that is designed to protect it from rain, snow, and other environmental factors. This enclosure should be properly sealed to prevent moisture from entering and causing damage to the receptacle. Fourthly, provide overcurrent protection for the receptacle circuit using a circuit breaker or fuse of the appropriate size. This overcurrent protection helps protect the wiring and equipment from damage due to overloads or short circuits. Fifthly, test the GFCI receptacle after installation to ensure that it is functioning correctly. This testing can be done using a GFCI tester, which simulates a ground fault and verifies that the receptacle trips the circuit. Sixthly, regularly inspect the GFCI receptacle and its enclosure for any signs of damage or deterioration. This inspection should include checking for cracks, corrosion, and loose connections. If any damage is found, the receptacle should be replaced immediately. Seventhly, follow all manufacturer's instructions and recommendations for the installation, operation, and maintenance of the GFCI receptacle. This includes using the correct tools and techniques and following any specific safety precautions. Eighthly, ensure that all electrical work is performed by a qualified electrician who is familiar with the NEC and local electrical codes. This helps ensure that the installation is done safely and correctly. Ninthly, keep the generator enclosure clean and free of debris to prevent moisture buildup and corrosion. This cleaning should include removing any leaves, dirt, or other materials that could trap moisture and contribute to electrical hazards. 10thly, educate users about the importance of GFCI protection and the proper use of electrical equipment in outdoor locations. This education should include information on how to test the GFCI receptacle and what to do if it trips the circuit. In addition to these installation and maintenance practices, it is also important to consider the specific requirements of the equipment that will be plugged into the GFCI receptacle. For example, if the block heater has a high inrush current, it may be necessary to use a GFCI receptacle with a high trip current rating. It is also important to ensure that the receptacle is properly sized to handle the load of the equipment that will be plugged into it. By following these guidelines, you can ensure that the GFCI receptacle is properly installed and maintained. This will provide effective protection against electrical shock hazards in outdoor generator enclosures. Remember that electrical safety is paramount. If you are unsure about any aspect of the installation or maintenance of electrical equipment, consult with a qualified electrician. They can provide guidance and assistance to ensure that the work is done safely and in accordance with all applicable codes and regulations. The information provided here is for general guidance only and should not be considered a substitute for professional electrical advice. Always consult with a qualified electrician before performing any electrical work. The specific requirements for GFCI protection may vary depending on the local electrical codes and the specific application. It is important to consult with a qualified electrician or electrical inspector to determine the applicable requirements for your location. They can provide guidance and assistance to ensure that your electrical system is safe and compliant with all applicable codes and regulations. GFCI receptacles are readily available at most hardware stores and electrical supply houses. They are relatively inexpensive and easy to install. However, it is important to follow all applicable electrical codes and safety practices when installing a GFCI receptacle. If you are not comfortable performing the installation yourself, consult with a qualified electrician. They can provide guidance and assistance to ensure that the work is done safely and correctly. In summary, the NEC requires GFCI protection for 125 volts single-phase, 15 and 20 amps receptacles installed outdoors. This requirement applies to receptacles installed in generator enclosures. Installing a GFCI receptacle in a generator enclosure is a relatively simple and inexpensive way to protect against electrical shock hazards. By following all applicable electrical codes and safety practices, you can ensure that your electrical system is safe and compliant. Remember to consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns about electrical safety. They can provide guidance and assistance to ensure that your electrical system is safe and functioning properly.